What's going on? What's going on, everybody? It is the only sports podcast, the first only sports podcast of 2024.
I gotta ask you, is it also 100?
It is 99.
Ooh,
This is episode 99. We could have timed this out better where the first episode of 2024 would have been episode 100, but who gives a shit? So, yeah. But how we doing, Casino, in the new year? How's 2024 treating you? We're 48 hours into it.
Pretty good. I made 11 hours sober. That was awesome.
Wow.
I did good. Yes, if you're doing your math
hours.
right, that I started drinking at 11 a.m. on New Year's Day. Had a work meeting. I was at work, so I was like, you know what, hell, fuck it.
Yeah,
I'm already here. It is what it is. Also, though, I'm doing okay. I can see that I'm really white. You just gave me a complexion, really not a good complexion, or not complexion. God damn it, I'm all over the place.
Compliment?
No. What's the other one that starts with the C?
Cunt. No.
Yes. Yes.
I'm gonna have to beep that out. I don't think you can say that on YouTube. But go on.
Yep. I'm white. You're tan. How's the spray tan going for you?
The funny thing is, I'm also very white, but for some reason on this podcast next to you, I mean, you look.
Well, it's
make
the
me
lighting.
look.
It's all the lighting. It's all the lighting.
I don't know. You make me look like I actually have a tan.
Well, I am pale. I am pale.
Yeah, I don't know if it's my camera or what, but I like it. I
Thank
like
you.
it.
All right, we got a lot to talk about.
A lot to talk about,
and we've got 45 minutes.
Which is apparently the sweet spot for this podcast.
Oh, because we started having horrible attendance again because I showed up.
Yeah, I mean, basically. So
awesome.
Yeah, so we're back here, Casino. 2024. We're here to talk about, I mean, just a brutal week 17. Not pick wise. I mean, just emotion wise, game wise.
I mean, you holding up okay?
Oh, I mean, prepare for my Eagles rant.
Remember, we only have 45 minutes.
I know. I was gonna do a bit that I'm now gonna save for episode 100. I was gonna break it out on 99, but I was like, no, it's gonna be episode 100. So stay tuned for that.
All right.
Well, there's like 3 games we have to do rants on. Let's start with the Saturday game, Casino. I know both you and I were fired up. The world was fired up for it. Let's talk about. I wish we should have done this literally Thursday night, and I would have been lighting this podcast on fire. Now it doesn't even matter. Well, it does matter, and that's why it's the now 11-5 Dallas Cowboys win 20-19 at the now 11-5 Detroit Lions on what can only be called, after all the evidence and everything has been. I mean, there's a million fucking videos. We've been sending videos back and forth to each other. It's basically been proven at this point that the ref is lying, right? To protect his job.
100%.
So there's no way you're listening to this podcast and you didn't see this, but just in case you didn't, the Lions go down for a score, can kick a field goal to tie it up, most likely go to overtime. They would have given Dallas 30 seconds and all of their timeouts left to go down the field and try to score a field goal. I mean, Dallas in this game wasn't moving the ball at all. They were averaging over 35 points a game at home.
CeeDee Lamb was moving the ball. He was crushing it. CeeDee Lamb had 13 receptions, almost to 230 yards. It was 227.
Oh, you mean almost 100 of those yards on a play that Dak Prescott avoids a sack, which was completely on the defender. The defender, I don't know how he misses that sack. He basically just tried to clothesline him, and then 4 of the 5 Dallas Cowboys offensive linemen are just holding every Lions defender, which gives Dak Prescott time to just throw a 98-yard Hail Mary. I mean,
fair enough. Let's get to the controversy.
So that was one of them. The other one is to end the game. The Lions could kick a field goal to tie the game. Probably the game goes into OT. Instead, they go for 2 points, which I loved in the moment when I was
Oh yeah,
watching this. I was like,
I got my
yes,
whole take
please.
on this
Yeah.
because I was listening to Colin and I'm like, you Colin Cowherd, and he's literally saying everything that went through my mind, and I want to just reiterate what he said and what I thought as well. So break it down, and then I'll give my opinion on that.
So the controversy is the offensive lineman, which has now been basically proven with video evidence. You have to tell the referee, and the coach also told the referee, apparently before this play, that you are an eligible receiver. So that means you can break off from the line. To anybody who watches football, this is where we get the fat guy touchdown, right? That everybody loves. Everybody loves in football a fat guy, offensive lineman or defensive lineman touchdown. So the play works to perfection. Offensive lineman catches it. And then, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes later, all of a sudden there's a flag for illegal touching, which is uh, a penalty he only gets if he did not designate himself as a
Did
wide
not report
receiver.
as a
Yes.
receiver.
But again, we have video evidence after the fact that there was video proof of him reporting as an eligible
Not only
receiver.
reporting, but being acknowledged. That's the
Yes.
key. That's the key.
Yes. And then so play starts again. Dallas falls, or Mika Parsons is offsides. The ball gets intercepted. They try a 2 point for a third time, and then it doesn't work. I think my only issue with this is that third time. How are you not kicking a field goal?
That's where I'm at. So Colin
Like,
kind of said, so you had this play. You had this 2-point conversion and it worked to a T. It was the trick play. It probably would have won Dan Campbell if they succeeded and it didn't get called back, which it should have it should have stood, but like that is coach of the year. That move guaranteed him coach of the year. However, they call it back and I would have protested this game. I don't know how many times I sent it to you. I mean, I've jokingly said it about other games before, but I don't see how you cannot protest this one. I don't understand it. I truly don't. I don't care that you already are in the playoffs. You've locked up your division, so you're guaranteed at least in where the AFC South is, you are guaranteed already the 3 seed, like guaranteed it. But you're still fighting for the 1 and 2, you know, at that point. It blew my mind that they did not try to challenge this game when it was blatantly obvious. And I told you before, like, or during the game, I don't remember, but there's no way Dallas was going to lose this game. There's just no way that they were going to let on this big of a night, on that big halftime. They were not going to let Dallas lose this game. There was just no way.
oh yeah.
It was just absolutely ridiculous. So, but I do agree with you, and I agree with Colin. Colin brought it up. After it worked but got called back, then you have to step back as a coach. Players always want to go for it. Fans always want you to go for it most of the time. At this point, as a coach, you needed to step back and say, okay, we did our trick play. We did it. This is the third time now that we would have to go for this 2-point conversion. Stop. Kick the field goal, go into overtime, and try to win it there. Just try to win it there. Because you would have to have, like, getting a 2-point conversion is already hard enough, but trying to get it 3 times in a row, that's insane. That's insane. So I liked the move by Dan Campbell, and then I hated the move by Dan Campbell. That does not change the fact that I think the refs I know the refs got this wrong, and they snub. Like, this is just like, this is at boxing level where it's as rigged as it could possibly be. Like, if you had any inkling, we've talked about it throughout the season and a little bit last year, that the NFL and Roger Goodell, they have a secret like way on how they want things to go. And yes, there's no script, but they are going to try to do whatever they can to make it what they want. And you got to, and some people, I had this argument with somebody saying, oh, the refs, that's their job. They're not going to mess with the sanctity of the game. Fuck off. If Roger Goodell came up and go, "Hey, here's $10 million, just $10 million straight to you under the table, 10 million fucking dollars to if you have a chance, you will get $10 million if you can make it to where this team wins. $10 million to you."
Yeah.
People are greedy and horrible people. They're horrible humans suck. I guarantee you a ref would go $10 million. Fuck yeah, I will throw a flag because he's not. I mean, this was blatant, but you get my point. It's absolutely ridiculous. I don't know how much more I can talk about it. I'm furious. I'm furious. And I puked at that halftime show. Like, I
Well,
hate Dallas Cowboys so much. I just
oh
I
yeah.
hate fuck every Dallas Cowboy
Well, not
just because you're associated with the Cowboys. I hate you.
well,
You could
not
be an
only
amazing player, but fuck off.
yeah, not only that, but uh
Sorry.
for a this was a week 17 game, and I love Jimmy Johnson as much as I can love a former Dallas Cowboy, right? I
Same,
just
same.
like
He's funny,
love him on TV. He's great. Like anytime you listen to his analysis of football, you're just like, I trust anything this
dude.
guy says.
I
That
laughed my ass off in that movie Failure to Launch when he's got his naked room. Funniest fucking one of the funniest fucking things I've ever seen a pro athlete ever do on TV. It was phenomenal. It was fantastic.
That being said, this is a week 17 game. I didn't need a 30-minute fucking or what felt like a 30-minute fucking
Dude,
halftime show. So
vomit
this guy
worthy. Vomit
can
worthy.
go in the ring of honor as if that who gives a fuck? Like like all these things where it's like we're going to retire this player's jersey and all this kind of stuff, like that's fine to do for the fans, right? And it's like a cool thing, but it's also like Jimmy Johnson won all these Super Bowls. He's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The only reason he wasn't in the Ring of Honor 20 fucking years ago when he should have been is because him and Jerry Jones have had this feud. It's like
And
I
still have.
don't yeah, it's like who gives a shit? I don't want to see this for 30 minutes. It was like one of those things where everything you're talking about is goes into the conspiracy thing where the NFL is not categorized as a sports league. It's categorized as an entertainment league, which means
Yeah,
technically, like all that kind of conspiracy shit you hear. I never really believed in that until this season when there
exactly.
is
It's
just
so bad.
so much, like every fucking week we can point to, and it's not just, again, it's not just like 10 a.m. games. We can point to the premier primetime standalone games every single night where something like this happens, which is where it now starts to become concerning because it's like they're not even trying to hide it anymore. They're just blatantly being like, oh no, like we're in Dallas. Dallas can't lose this game. It's in prime time. And that was why when you're in Dallas Stadium in prime time against the Cowboys, that's why I think you have to go for two to win that game. But then when it doesn't work two other times, that's them telling you, like, go to overtime and just take your fucking chances. You're probably not going to win, but you're definitely not going to win trying a third attempt at a 2-point
Yeah.
conversion. That was
I
my
agree. And
issue with the
also
whole
it
thing.
was and not just because it was that special night for Jimmy, but it was also they were they are 8-0 in
Oh,
Dallas,
yeah,
the
yeah.
fucking stadium. It's like, well, you play the Giants twice, first off. Like, go fuck yourself. I mean, and then you have Washington, go fuck yourself. Like, chill the fuck out, man. Like, chill the fuck out.
Well, hey, as an Eagles fan, which let's transition to that game, Casino.
Well, and this is the point. Like a lot of people were like, "Oh, that it is what it is." Well, it has implications. It has implications, and it does because the Eagles ended up losing to the Cardinals. Kyler Murray, fuck that little dude, and ugh, I and you know what? I'm not even an Eagles fan, but I can't stand Kyler Murray. I just can't. But let Kyler cook. He had a pretty okay game.
But no, so this is the much larger issue, which after the fact of that game now swings so many seeds in the NFC
So many.
because if the Lions win that game, all of a sudden we're going into the last week of the season and the 49ers and Lions are fighting for the number 1 seed.
Mhm.
Dallas is now fighting to either be the 3rd seed or the 5th seed and not win a division, like not win a division title. And now all of a sudden it's Detroit is going to be the third
The 3.
the third seed. Dallas is going to be the 2nd seed and win the division. The 49ers now clinched the number 1 seed without even having to do
It
anything
changed
this week.
everything because you can
Yeah.
rest players like that. It's huge for the Niners because what are they gonna do? They get to rest, uh, Trent or not Brown, but they get to rest, Trent, and they get to rest, uh,
Debo, McCaffrey,
McCaff
Purdy, they can literally just rest fucking everybody.
Yeah,
Who
it's
get like
huge. It's huge. You're giving them the win for the next, the next game. It's like, fuck off, dude. I'm so pissed. I'm just so pissed at the NFL. It's ridiculous.
and see
And this is not because my team is not in it, and this might be Belichick's last game as a Patriot head coach and all of this stuff, and like I have feelings towards that. No, I'm just genuinely not interested. Obviously, I'm going to watch football, but I am so upset with the NFL right now. I kind of don't want to watch the playoffs because it doesn't fucking matter. It really feels like it's not going to fucking matter because of how they've made a precedent this season. It's fucking horrible.
Well, with that being said, this game, no, uh, no controversial calls, no referee help, no blatant calls whatsoever. This was just one of, I mean, I was sitting there watching this game. And we're talking about the Eagles who lose 31-35. Eagles now 11-5. Arizona Cardinals now 4-12. They're the 3rd worst team in the league. I mean, I was watching this game going into halftime. It is 20-6 Eagles. And I'm thinking, man, like the first half ended and I was like, man, the Cardinals are really moving the ball up and down the field. But then when they get to the red zone, we just stop them. Right. And then it's like
Bend,
that
don't break.
classic we talk about all the fucking time, bend, don't break. And I was like, I'm fine with this, right? Let them get all the yards they want. I don't give a shit. They're not getting touchdowns. They're getting field goals. Sidney Brown has a 99-yard interception return. It's amazing, right? And then all of a sudden the second half starts and the Cardinals proceed to score 15 unanswered points. The Eagles literally can't do anything. And then it goes into the 4th quarter. All of a sudden the Eagles turn it back on. The Cardinals then score 2 touchdowns. And the Eagles recover an onside kick with 5 minutes left. So in my head, I go, oh man, this was a close game, but a win's a win. Who gives a shit? I've seen this for the past 3 years where when the Eagles get the ball, all they have to do is run out the clock. Guess what they do? They run out the clock and they just bleed 8, 9, 10 minutes off the clock, slowly but surely, death by 1,000 cuts, and then it's over. So instead, what happens is this fucking dipshit the Eagles have calling offensive plays. Let me ask you a question, Casino. If
Mhm.
it was 1st and 20, uh, and you need to burn clock, what would you do? You would do a run play, correct?
You run it. Yeah, you just run it. You need
So
to
now,
eat up some clock.
so the offensive coordinator, and his name is Brian
Dipshit
Johnson.
McGee.
Yeah, I mean, just okay, so this was his explanation on not one, but 2 quarterback draws back to back, where the first one he attempted, or the second one he attempted, lost 4 yards. So this was his explanation. In that situation, 2nd and 16, you try to catch them off guard playing with a second and pass call and see if you can pop one and get some yardage and get to a safe spot where you can be super aggressive on third down and in comfortable field goal range. We end up losing 4, and that changed the mode and mindset for the third down play. You try to catch them off guard playing with a second and pass call. You try to catch them off guard by calling the exact same play you just did over again that just didn't gain you anything. So you try to catch them off guard by calling the exact same play that didn't work the very first play you just tried to run. So by catching them off guard, you then do the same play. They know exactly what's coming, and then you lose 4 yards. What a fucking, not only was it an idiotic call, but the explanation of it is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my fucking life. And it's also like, oh, well, this guy has to be our offensive coordinator. He's Jalen Hurts' friend, or he was Jalen Hurts' coach. And it's like, oh, that's great, because I guess in the NFL, the only skill you have to have is knowing someone on the fucking team.
Well, that's life.
I know a bunch of people. I would never be like, oh, hey, Casino, you're my friend, but you don't know how to, to spay and neuter my pets, but here's a fucking scalpel and my dog.
Well, I mean, I could get it done. I mean, your dog won't live,
but the dog's not going to be safe. So the dog's, is the equivalent to this Eagles season, where now there's reports where it's just like AJ Brown is really frustrated and he's refusing to talk to the media. And then today and that's been like a 3-week story. Well, today it came out and it was just like, oh, turns out he's really upset with the coaching and how the play calling's going. And then apparently so is most of the locker room. And it's just like, this is reported as if it's just like new information. And everybody who watches this team is like, yeah, no shit. Because then what happens, Casino, is it's 3rd and 16. So on 3rd and 16, where you're trying to win the game, wouldn't you, I don't know, try to get 16 yards? So instead, what they do is they do a wide receiver screen that gets 2 yards. You know, the Eagles, whose play sheet consists of a run up the middle, a quarterback draw, or a wide receiver screen. You've just done 2 quarterback draws, and you need 16 yards, so you're probably not handing it off. Oh, let's see. Of the 3 plays you've won, let's cross off 2. So what fucking play do you think they're going to run? I'm a fucking idiot, right? I can think of 5 football plays off the top of my head that are not a screen or a run up the middle. It's what?
Flea flicker.
Literally do anything, not even remotely creative, literally anything different. It would have been more productive 4 times in a row to just be like, line up 5 wide receivers and just have them run straight. That is a more productive play than a quarterback draw, and a wide receiver screen. What fucking...
Take a breath.
So this was Brian Johnson talking about that 3rd and 20 bubble screen. With the way the wind was on that side, we had to get to the kick line. You obviously have multiple options on that play call. If you get a pressure look, that's what we're going to screen. If you don't, the play would have been something else. Again, what the fuck are you talking about? You're not trying to get a field goal. You're trying to run out the clock to win the fucking game. What the fuck are you talking about? Ugh. So, yeah, as an Eagles fan, I was a fucking idiot to believe in this team. They've been a fraud all season. It's just been proven by the past 2 weeks. Losing to at least the Seattle team is probably going to be in the playoffs. So at least they lost to a playoff team. Losing to the Cardinals the way they did, they literally got pushed around and ran all over, couldn't stop a fucking nosebleed. And then they scored 35 points, but it was also the situational awareness was that
Mm,
of a 2-year-old where it was just
yeah.
like, I don't know, like, ugh, this
Something
team
that
can't.
I do notice right now. We're probably gonna have to do a side episode because for college, because we're not gonna get to college today. There's no way.
No, it is
So
just
I'm gonna stop you though. I loved your rant, but we got a lot of other games to get to, man. That was
yeah.
great.
But I mean,
Uh,
the ending of that is just the Eagles, they're going to probably play now the Tampa Bay Bucks in the first round. With how the Bucks looked this past weekend, they'll probably win that game by 3 points and then get fucking annihilated in the next round, which by grace of God, they would play probably the 49ers or the Cowboys in 49ers Stadium or Cowboys Stadium and then just get annihilated. And then I'll be watching that game with probably a loaded gun in my mouth. I don't know. But
can I hold the
yeah,
gun?
I mean, just at this point, Casino, I hope and pray your Lions pick is correct because if I have to watch this fucking 49ers team or this fucking Cowboys team in
Well,
the Super Bowl,
t-
again, loaded
dude,
gun in my
if
mouth.
well, I mean, the Lions should have been fighting for the number one seed. So unless the NFL fucks the Lions again, I do like the Lions because I think the Lions can take down both of those teams, both the Niners and the Cowboys.
I mean, that entire game, they outplayed the
I
Cowboys.
think so.
That
So
entire
I
game.
like the Lions. I really hope. I think this is this year. But anyway, so moving on. So I'm gonna start breaking down a couple things. I loved how your Panthers pick got 0 points. That made me smile. But
Oh,
you did call the Colts though, which was nice. And the Colts have a real shot of making the playoffs. Like wild for them. I didn't think they were gonna do shit this year. So kudos to them. I'm just gonna kind of roll through because there's a few games we don't even really need to talk about. Brock Purdy looked good against the Commanders. Again, it was that one game about the Ravens, and we'll get to them that he didn't look good, but he's just fine. He's not the issue. It was the
well,
Ravens are
it's also
good.
the Commanders.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
Well, that's
the
still, but I
Commanders
mean,
again have the
they won
last
by 17.
defense.
They were fine.
Yeah.
I mean, they did it with injured players. Like Debo's injured, McCaffrey's injured, and they still put up a lot of won by 17.
Yeah.
Um, the Chiefs Bengals was very interesting. I still don't believe in the Chiefs at all. I just I think the Chiefs are such scam or like they're not good. They're not good. They're 10-6. I look at that team. I look at that team and I'm like, oh, they're 8-8. That team's an 8-8 team.
Yeah. I
Like,
mean, honestly, you can say everything you can say about the Eagles, you can say about the Chiefs,
right,
except the Chiefs have a better defense, Eagles have a better offense. But
right,
they have on the other sides of the ball, they have just the same issues.
right. Um,
Also with our picks casino,
uh,
I won the week
I know you
actually.
did.
With I won 14, you won 13. But also that's counting the two college games, which you got
Yep.
both college games right. I only got the Michigan pick right. But
Right. We'll get to college here, but fuck you and the Steelers, dude. You guys got the Steelers right. I hate you guys.
yeah.
And you know what? But it's not even Rudolph didn't do shit in that game. That was all Najee Harris, dude. 122 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like he crushed it. Like that, he absolutely crushed it. What a fucking game.
With the
Um,
Steelers, how much credit do you give Mike Tomlin for
dude,
that thing where
I love
it's like,
Tomlin.
yeah, but it's that thing where it's like he never has a losing season, but he also never has a really good team. And it's always just this team that is 9-7, 9-8,
Well, I
and
mean,
it's just
like
they're never a threat
no,
like to do
they're
anything in the
missing a
playoffs.
few pieces here and there, and like teams are gonna have that. But I would be struggling to get rid of a coach who has a team almost every year that is missing pieces, but yet still getting you to the playoffs, still giving you a winning record. Like it's hard to move off of that. To me, that would be
Yeah.
really hard to move off. That is, we need to draft the right guy. We need to get spend a few dollars and get a few good players on the team. It's not the coaching. I mean, Tomlin has showed throughout his entire career, it's not the coaching. I don't
Yeah.
think it's the coaching. I think it's just missing one or two pieces, and he could have two more, maybe three more Super Bowls in his belt. Man, I love Tomlin. I love him. I love him. I think he's an amazing coach. Players like playing for him, and he says what he has to say. He has his emotions on his sleeve. He's not afraid of. I love that guy. I love that guy. So good for him, but fuck the Steelers. I wanted the Seahawks to go. Um, so one game that I was impressed with, and it's more an individual, dude, Jordan Love, man. Like I guarantee you he listened to this podcast. I guarantee you he listened to it
And it
because,
was the kick
dude,
in the ass he needed.
dude, Jordan Love is cooking, dude. He looks like a completely different quarterback the second half of this season. Like, I think he's finally, and he's got room to work. I mean, he's a little squirrely, but he's got room to improve, man. Like, he was on the team for a while, but he's been sitting. That's what Green Bay does is they get a quarterback that they like, they sit him behind a Hall of Famer, and then they move him in, and then they move him in. So his first year as a starter, obviously he's going to have a little bit of rough patch, and he did at the beginning of the season. But if he comes out next season and he plays like he did the second half of this season, we could be looking at an MVP candidate next season. Like,
Well, no, remember he started this season really
he
good,
started the
and then he
season
had
good,
that
and then he had.
lull.
But so
Yeah,
I'm just gonna because I'm just gonna lump that all into the first half of the season. Like,
but
I don't care
30
that you.
touchdowns, 11 interceptions on the
He's
season.
he's
Like,
doing very well. Like, he's crushing. I'm very impressed with how he's turned his game around, and with all of the critics, us included, that
oh yeah.
because we have big say on that. He's listening to us. Very impressive. I like what he did. Kudos to him.
And I
Um,
believe with Seattle losing, it comes down to one of the playoff scenarios is I think
we'll
Green
get.
Bay wins and Seattle loses, they're out.
I think so. So we'll
Yeah.
get into that. We'll pull up those whole things
I,
next game
I
or
think, yeah,
next
I
time
think
around.
next episode when we make our picks, we should talk about playoff scenarios because those are always fun to what is it, mess around with.
So I
Uh
want to ask you one thing because I'm going to give you my take on it.
yes,
What team are you scared of? Like, what team, if you were a team outside of the Ravens, would you be scared to play in the playoffs?
the Browns.
The Browns, dude, all day. All you
Yeah.
need is, I mean, Joe Flacco's a mediocre quarterback, like, still. Like, he's playing well right now for not playing in a long time, or, like, missing at least half the season here. But that defense, as you said it last pod, absolutely juggernaut of a defense. They're insane. They're phenomenal, and it goes like Super Bowl 50 when Peyton Manning won and rode off into the sunset with the Broncos. He was garbage. He was dog shit. That defense won them the Super Bowl. So, like,
And you know what?
if
Well,
anybody, like, if you have a great defense, if you've had the number one defense all season, I would be scared shitless to play you because defense will win you championships. It's a cliche, people say it, but if you can't score points, you're fucked.
well, using that as an example is the perfect comparison, except this Browns defense is better and the Browns offense is better than that Denver's
Oh
offense
yeah,
or defense was. So
dude,
it's a
so
better
good.
version of that team that literally won the Super Bowl with this same formula, but this is a better version of it. Like, also, if you look at how the playoff seedings are most likely going to go, so with the AFC, it's pretty much locked in or set in stone. I think the only major difference is one of the craziest playoff scenarios we've ever seen is the Bills on Sunday Night Football against the Dolphins. They beat the Dolphins. They are the number 2 seed. Okay. They lose against the Dolphins. They are out of the playoffs.
Dude, it is
So,
insane.
how they can go from either winning their division and being the 2 seed or losing not only the division, but a playoff opportunity is fucking crazy.
Yeah, dude. We'll
But
we'll get to that, next pod too. Oh my god, or maybe in 2 pods because we might have to talk about college tomorrow and do like
let's
a quick 30 minutes or something.
let's say the Bills win. So the
Mm-hmm.
first round matchups. Oh my god, that was loud. The first
Hello.
round matchup. So you look at the first round of the AFC playoffs casino, and it would be Browns going to Jacksonville to play the Jaguars. I think the Browns would be favored in that game, probably by 3-4 points, probably more, because I think everybody's kind of coming around to the Jaguars. The second round, however, let's say they're the lowest seed, they would go to Baltimore. So Joe Flacco returning to Baltimore, again, a team they've already beat this season. So there's no
Mhm.
fear there. And then the championship game would either probably be against the Chiefs or the Bills, and then the Dolphins. The Dolphins, I feel like everybody would take the Browns over the Dolphins, right? Because
Mhm.
the
All
Browns
day.
are the perfect antidote to what the Dolphins do. And then do you trust uh a turnover heavy Josh Allen or this Chiefs offense against this Browns team? Like, there's no
No.
way.
No,
There's
dude,
no
The
scenario.
Browns could move this, like, easily sneak their way
Yeah.
in. Like,
Could you like the world would explode or
if it
we
was
would go into the
Lions
apocalypse.
Browns,
If it was Lions Browns as the Super Bowl, that would be first off, I think it would be one of the worst rated Super Bowls of all time.
or maybe the
But
most exciting because it's the fucking Lions and the Browns.
But I'm saying for football fans, I think it would be maybe the most
See,
exciting Super
we
Bowl
talked kinda
matchup
like
in history.
we kind of talked about this last thing about our last episode with the college, like, to me, if I was I would love to see the Lions and the Browns in the Super Like, I would be drooling over that and be like,
Yeah,
"Who in the
that's
fuck
who
is
I'm
gonna
rooting for.
win this?" Like,
Yeah.
insane.
Uh, but was there any of the other games you wanted to touch on Casino? Because
Um,
I
no,
feel like the one we have to touch on is the Ravens Dolphins,
and
and then
that's
we'll
what
get
we're gonna
on to
move to next, and we'll go off of that. I mean, we could talk about individual, like CJ Stroud's good, but I love that kid. I want to see what he could do in the playoffs. Anyway, so and next week is actually a big one. We'll get into that scenario with the Texans and the Colts.
Yeah.
Huge game. And when I saw the line last, it was like -1 for the Colts. I think it's insane. But yes, let's get to the Ravens. Let's just call it the Super Bowl team. Let's get to the Ravens. Dude, they're so good. Lamar Jackson, after this week, do you think he's got it locked up?
Oh, he's like the odds-on favorite. It's a wrap. He
It's a
does
wrap.
because
He's so
again,
good.
I know the 49ers did. The Ravens also clinched the number 1 seed, I
Yep.
believe so, right? So
Yep. The
then he
Ravens
doesn't
and the
have to
Niners
do
are clinched
so
as
I
number
expect
ones.
both of those teams to just rest everybody. Why would they risk injury? Especially the Ravens, who have just had the worst injury luck of all season.
Yeah,
And then they're
and they're gonna
just
play against the hard hitting Steelers team.
yeah.
So,
So Lamar Jackson, 18 for 21,
dude,
321 yards, 5 touchdowns.
that notion where I've said that he was he's a middle of the road passer, not bad, not great. Dude, he looks phenomenal. His passing has looked so much better this year. It's absolutely insane.
I've always thought he was a great pocket passer that just nobody gave him credit for. But I
Well,
also
you
just
hit the
think
nail on the head. I thought that he was a little bit off, just a little bit off with his passing here and there. Not never called him bad. Like maybe I did, but he's always been in the middle of the road for me um when it comes to passing, dude. He's definitely shut me up on that, dude. I will never say that he's a bad passer until his arm falls off, but he is so good.
No, I've always been a huge Lamar Jackson fan ever
Same.
since the draft night where he got drafted at the end of the first round. And his quote when they interviewed him was just like, he just said he was going to make everybody regret not taking him. And I love that, like, fuck you mentality or
All
whatever.
day.
So but again, I think people also misconstrue the Lamar Jackson thing with what happened in the offseason, where it was like all these teams could have traded for him and they didn't. And now look, he's going to be the MVP of the league. The issue was not trading for him. The issue was what the fuck would you have to give up to get Lamar
Everything,
Jackson?
dude.
Like,
Everything.
to get Russell Wilson, you were trading 3 first-round picks, and Russell Wilson was at the end of his career. Everybody knew it. Aaron Rodgers,
I
like all these
I still
older
don't
quarterbacks.
understand like with the Russ deal, the Watson deal, the Murray deal. Like the market is so skewed. Like everybody's trying to use those as the top, and I'm like, no. Like those were fucking bad, and they're showing why they're bad. So like
Yeah.
any quarterback now that's gonna try to go good, like, hey, I want that deal. No. Because look, unless you prove yourself like Lamar Jackson has, the guy who's gonna win the MVP this year, we're not paying you that kind of money. Like, I think that market's going to finally drop down a little bit because of those botched deals.
Yeah. Well, and again, even the Lamar Jackson, like if he wins MVP this year and then shits the bed in the playoffs again, then we're also going to be questioning that.
He's the Tony
Uh,
Romo.
yeah, then we're going to also be questioning that contract because now they can't get anybody to get better. So if he doesn't, which is why I think I would want to, obviously, I'd want to see the Browns, Lions in the Super Bowl, but I think the guy I want to win the Super Bowl this season, because obviously my Eagles are fucking out of it. Like if they reach the Super Bowl, it'll be a fucking miracle. So that's not happening. But I would love to see Lamar Jackson win the Super Bowl this year, not only because I think he deserves it, but I also think it's just one of those things where if he doesn't, and this team is this good during the regular season again, he wins MVP again, and then he can't do anything in the playoffs, then all of a sudden it becomes the narrative where he's Peyton Manning, right? Remember when Peyton Manning was first in the league and he was winning all these MVPs and breaking all these records and having all these great stats, but then he would always just shit the bed in the
Yeah.
playoffs. And then it was
Yeah.
just like,
He's the Rodgers. Rodgers would call him
yeah.
up. He'd say, "Hey, good job on that MVP," and just leave it at that. Dude, that was
Yeah.
one of the most wild things ever when he was like, "Yeah, maybe I got another MVP." And I still love that whole thing. Gronk's like, "Yeah, well, I want Super Bowls, not MVPs."
Yeah. But
Sorry, it
now,
makes me smile every time.
before we get out of here, Casino, let's talk about the Dolphins. How we've seen now this team get blown out by basically every good team they played except the
Once
Cowboys.
you figure out their speed, and I've said this since like week 4, week 5, you figure out their speed, you can beat them. You can beat them.
Yeah. Well, you just have to beat them with physicality, right? Like you
Yeah.
push them around. And I mean, you look at the teams
I've
again
said it
that would
all. I've
be,
said it since like week 4. The
yeah.
glass jaw. It's they're Goliath. They are a great team. They're 11-5 for a fucking reason, blowing out teams, every now and then. They are a Goliath, but they are a Goliath with a glass jaw. Ooh, that was tough to say. Blah, blah, blah.
Well, also in the AFC, the 4 teams that they would most likely have to play either in the wild card round or divisional round would be the Chiefs, the Browns, the Ravens, or the Bills.
Dude,
4
and
teams that have 4 of the best, hardest hitting defenses in the league.
yeah,
So, I
good
mean,
luck.
it's just, yeah. I like Mike McDaniels. He's probably my favorite coach in the NFL. I
He's
love
my
this
favorite.
Dolphins team,
He's so much fun. Oh
but
my gosh.
I mean, them and the Eagles, just 2 of the biggest fraud 11-5 teams in NFL history. I don't fucking like. We know they're not going
No,
to do anything.
I don't know. I maybe the Minnesota Vikings last year.
I mean, yeah, yeah,
Man, I'm excited. So we'll do like a quick 30-minute show tomorrow about college because, dude, I watched every second of both of these games, and I told
me
you,
too.
little dude, I told you until Washington loses those close games, I can't go against them. I just
Dude.
can't.
Yeah, but you're saying that as if the Texas quarterback puts the ball here instead of here, that game the Texas wins on the last play of the game. Like that guy.
Well, no, that was a great defensive play. That was a
It was
great.
not. It was
Yeah, it
just
was.
a bad throw. The last
He
play of
knocked
this
it out.
game.
He knocked it out of his hands.
No, that was a
Yeah, it
bad
was.
throw. He had time. He rushed it.
I don't think the guy would have got his foot down
there.
anyway. I don't think he would have got his foot
Would
down.
have dragged
Anyway,
it. He would have dragged it.
yeah. Dude,
Uh,
now,
this
and
has
if
been.
you want to talk about great throws, though, I mean, how about we'll get into it. But dude,
Yeah. Join us.
Penix with some of those throws, I think that might have been, no joke, some of the best passing I've ever seen in the NFL or pros in the last like 10 years. It was outstanding. Some of those, it was inches.
It's also
right, we'll
kind
get
of
into that.
weird. It's also kind of weird that he didn't win the Heisman, right? Like he had the numbers to do it. His team was number 1 in the nation. And then you see what he does in this bowl game. And again, armchair quarterback, but it's not like he wasn't doing this stuff all season on what is now one of the best teams.
Dude, fucking Phillip Rivers all day.
But we'll talk about that tomorrow.
Yeah,
we'll do a quick college episode. Not going to be episode 100. We'll just do a just little episode because episode 100 is Friday. Going to be a big one, Casino. You will do 99.5. Yeah. Tomorrow, just to talk about college football and who we got in the championship. This has been the first Only Sports podcast of 2024. I'm Will. That's Casino over there. And yeah, we'll see you tomorrow to talk college football.
Yep. Fuck Bama.
Adios.